was in the same nature. Left to be a poem in a bumble. You could be the verse. Who will only know for the ease of falling downstairs? For always to be the motion, there was no choice. For the mountain is frigid. For the cousins are floating the ocean. For the even sluggish enough at the moment. For the laughing out loud. For the jokes and the human heart. For the big sev. Everything for the pine, for the punching. With only the pain for the cousin. The moving the mouse. And this for the puff for the moon. For the corresponding the seas. And now getting back to there in the mood. Sadness heaving, kept for the sunken city, for the owner, the gladness, somersaulting for the east, drawing on the stone flag, for no matter for the house star, for the ice scene, for the cranking in me, for the titans and world in the spring, and each time when I see for the face, and thanking you for the aiming and ways with the flashing, your polishing way for the brass, the gas, step of the gas for the halfway through the lid, line for the flying, for the just to be the scar, city for the only haircut, for the smelling of pencils and sharpening and striving your way, for the surviving your only house somehow, wall alleys and the love, watch that for the flush of the drop your cheek. Galloping for the dream and maybe even the replenishment. Who knows? Time let go for the unknown, for the display of those the closest in the hours. For the formula has changed, will be for the tangerine blue again, for the bordered up of the eternity. Who will never know for those barefoot. To the undivided attention to the young poet. To believe the outlines, forget them for the beginning of your own words. For this, the first to write the poetry, for the last. This is the extension for the heirs, to the correct your errors. For this, the book of agony, for the who doesn't want it anymore. But the truth is the right over the crow's ink. Truth is black. Trying it over for the mirage of the light. If you want to do it for the falcon, the sword for the falcon, you can fall in love with the woman. You can be the desire for the end. For this is the lesson that all can have for the life. For the we don't think for the mother, new bunch of we hurt. Emotions for the left, for the pond of river rose too long for enough. You will budge into the storm. You are like me, but I'm a bit clear. You have the rose with the secrets and never end for the descending in the sin. You might call that end to the youth of the maturity of the talent for the wisdom, but you know that it's the wisdom for the cooler, with a non-lyric from the thousands of birds with the hand of the equal one for the wearing of a tree, for the poem that was difficult enough at the time, for the beautiful flowers in the cemetery, for the example that you can never try to attain to yourself, for the other, for yourself, for the border, for the echo. Are your inspiration date for the extended, for the range of filling up with the vapor, for the heart safe, for the before you can reach the path. Don't tell me you beloved, for the all I can say, but the opposite of that, for you guess. Fugitive cloud, but enough for the deviate for your all might, for the deviating the rule, for the two blades and the stars, and one for the utterance in the margin or next to the essential, for the complete rising of the rapture, for the don't believe for the accuracy, for the instruction, for the caravan, for your trace. Moral is the bullet for the poets in the heart. Deadly for the wisdom, for the strongest bullet, when you're angry and enough for the almond blossom, when you love anything for the nothing, for the serenade of yourself in the close room. Road is like an ancient poet's night. Plain and hills and rivers and valleys for the measures from older the lily for the bow for the gallow for the you get the task what for the worried about you for the those who dance and those who find the grace and the hidden cameras from the side of the singers and the navel for the disappointing meat for the distance of the others who what did you resemble. Beautiful enough for this beyond for the guardian for the neglected future. Don't think when you melt into the sorrow for the candle tears. You will see then how for your intuition of life and think to yourself that this is all mine. Incomplete. Butterflies make it whole. I have a seat for the if I were another. I was her absence and I created her image. No more, no less to the land. To the horse that fell off the poem. I have a seat in the bandit and if I were another. A road enough for the looking back for what I've traveled on. Stranger for the need out for the awakened, for the extended, for the space would be widened enough for between us, with the you yourself and myself right here before you, for the need for enough of return, for the this to be the route, for the attempts of the traveler to test the gravity, for the eye and the steps of the compass, and the moment my chapter for the another road. Hidden my emotion for the suitcase and never be with the water. Abstract enough for the lightweight, for the stronger than the memory, for the weaker of the dewdrops. I've said, but the identity is expands enough for this to be another road, for the teaching being over another string, for the I can find another song, for this to renew, for the what I can become for another. I've said it enough. I was the absence of those created by the image of those hidden for the heavenly commences of the way, for the expanding for the what you could do with the absence. And this would be the guide for the rhythm of a ten, for the pinch. This would be the thing for the blowing of the wind, for the rhyme, for the absence of it teaching me the lesson, for the you can memorize and being steadfast. This is something for the letter, for the ancient, the alphabets, and you can be the learner from the alphas of the after the vegetation, for the bird, for the passerby, for the member, the symbol, for the member of the member. I'm gonna go sneaking inside of the umbrella and telling myself for the seven hills that I can place. Mass in the stone walk to the sleepless night, for the awakening love of the dream, for the dissolution of the one move, for the I love to this is another unconsciousness, for the liberating for the history from there and enough that I liberated from the consciousness for the first. Windows open for the soul, for the spirit to enter, for the dream, for the not, the awaken. Stop here for the not, for there, for this to be the weren't you ever of the mirage.
us in the same nature. Left to be a poem and a bum. Oh, you could be the verse. Who will only know for the ease of falling downstairs? Could always be the motion, there was no choice for the mountainous richer. For the only cousins of floating the oceans, but even sluggish enough at the moment for the laughing out loud for the jokes and the human heart for the big sev. Everything for the pine, for the punching, with only the pain for the cousin, the move of the mouse, and the for the pelt for the moon, for the corresponding the season, now getting back to there in the mood. Sadness heaving, kelp for the sunken city, for the only the gladness, somersaulting for the east. Drawing on the stone flavor, no matter for the house star, for the ice scene, for the cranking in me, for the titans and whirling the spring, then each time when I see for the face, and thanking you for the aiming in ways with the flashing, your polishing way for the press, the gas, step of the gas for the halfway through the live. Life for the flying, for the just to be the scar, city for the only haircut, for the smelling of pencils and sharpening the striving your way for the surviving your only house somehow. Wall out leaks in the love. Watch that for the flush to drop your cheek. Galloping for the dream, and maybe even the replenishment. Who knows? Time let go for the unknown, for the display of those who closest in the hours. For the formula has changed. Will be for the tangerine blue again, for the bordered up at the turning blue. You will never know for those barefoot, or to the undivided attention to the young poet. To believe the outlines, forget them, to begin in your own words. For this, the first to write the poetry, for the last. This is the extension for the heirs, to correct your errors. For this, the book of agony, for the who doesn't want it anymore, but it's the truth and the right. Over the prose ink, truth is black. Trying it all over for the mirage of the light. If you want to do it for the falcon, the sword for the falcon, you can fall in love with the woman, you can be the desiring for the end. For this is the lesson that all can have for the life, for the we don't think for the matter of the punching, we hurt. Emotions for the left, for the pounding river rose too long for enough, you won't budge into the storm. You are like me, but I'm a bit clear. You have the rose with the secrets and never end for the descending in the sin. You might call that end to the youth, for the maturity, the talent for the wisdom, and you're no doubt. It's the wisdom for the cooler, for the non-living, from the thousands of birds, from the hand of the equal, one for the wearing of a tree, for the poem that was difficult enough in the time, for the beautiful flowers in the cemetery, for the example that you can never try to attain to yourself, for the other, for yourself, for the border, for the echo. Or your inspiration date for the extended, for the range of filling up with the vapor, for the heart safe, for the before you can reach the path. Don't tell me you beloved, for the all I can say, for the opposite of that, for you guess. Fugitive cloud, but enough for the deviate for your all might, for the deviating the rule, for the two blades in the star of the one, for the utterance in the margin or next to the essential, for the complete rising of the rapture, for the don't believe, for the accuracy, for the instruction, for the caravan, for your trace. Moral is the bullet for the poets of the heart. Deadly for the wisdom, for the strongest bullet, when you're angry enough for the almond blossom, and you love anything for the nothing, for the serenade of yourself, for the close room. Road is like an ancient poet's night. Playing in hills, the rivers and valleys, for the measures of older, the lily, for the road, for the gallow, for the you can the task of what, for the worry about you, for the those who dance and those who find the grace and the hidden cameras from the side of the singers and the neighbor, for the disappointing meat, for the distance of the others and what did you resemble. Beautiful enough for this beyond, for the guardian, for the neglected future. Don't think when you melt into the sorrow for the candle tears, you will see then how for your intuition of life, and think to yourself, but this is all mine. Incomplete, butterflies, make it whole. I have a seat for the if I were another. I was her absence and I created her image. No more, no less to the land, to the horse that fell off the poem. I have a seat in the abandonment if I were another. A road enough for the looking back for what I can travel on. Stranger for the not for the awakened, for the extended, for the space would be wide enough for the between us, with the you, yourself, and myself right here before you, but the need for enough for return, for the this to be the route, for the attempts of the traveler to test the gravity, for the eye and the steps of the compass, in the moment my chapter for then another road. Hidden my emotion for the suitcase and never be with the water. Abstract enough for the lightweight, for the stronger than the memory, for the weaker of the dewdrops. I've said for the identity is expands enough for this to be another road, for the to be able another string, for the I can find another song, for this to renew, for the what I could become from another. I've said it enough. I was the absence of those created by the image of those hidden, for the heavenly commences of the way, for the expanding for the what you could do with the absence. And this would be the guide for the rhythm of a tent, for the pinch, this would be the thing for the blowing of the wind, for the rhyme, for the absence of it teaching me the lesson, for the you can memorize and being steadfast. This was something for the letter, for the ancient, the alphabets, and you could be the learner for the alphans, for the after the vegetation, for the bird, for the passerby, for the member, the symbol, for the memory, the members. I'm gonna go sneaking inside of that umbrella and telling myself for the 7 hills that I can place. Mass in a stone wall to the sleepless night, for the reckoning level of the dream, for the dissolution of the one moon, for the I leapt and this is enough for the consciousness, for the liberating for the history from there, and enough that I liberated from the consciousness for the first. Windows open for the soul, for the spirit to enter, for the dream, for the knock to awaken. Stop here for the not for there, for this to be the weren't you ever of the mirage.
The wind sashays through the
So then I tiptoe, not knowing where it belonged, but this is how. This be the flower, this be the street. Swallowed itself into the border for the railroad. It was a track, but this was the bus line in. This is where the boys like to cross the curfew. This is where boys slap the windows of the domino into the mansions. Runaway man for the under the jogger for the park forest. Railings, gangsters day, during the spirit week, for this is the grass and the quiet for the mothers asleep, and this is where your heart is not yet. Rested to the telephone for the wire shackled to the ankle. Everyone you have ever loved for the sunset, but this is the new station to telling everyone that you can about to live across the street, for the outside your living room, for the window, for the at the end of the driveway, for the deliberate enough and for the abruptly enough for the stitching, for the here you are an exception. Urban and articulate enough for the black friend. Damn, you can poke them pencils to the kink for the one time. Curl the trembling smile for the pretending not to be the token of voodoo doll. Half elves for the half hill, for the only hospitable for the black family that you can find the north of the brought for the plantations. But this is all too familiar to being someplace with you were never raised is twice as good. For the mama left that west side for the you were two for the racing to the valley girl, for the accent, but you lost that for the skyline, but you went to school for the metal detectors, but you couldn't have the division streets. Born before and conceived, for this to be the cousins that lives inside the basement, for the verse of the real divine to be first to tongue inside the mouth, for the first we call your country, first to find the splinter for the wall, for the back you will know, for the how no success story, you're lucky enough for the slip through the cracks and make it. Your front door each night for the here is where your ashes will be scattered. Here's the home for the 6 years, for the now for the here's for the home for the 50th year for the redemption of the skin. Corner store, dusted porcelains, the stuffed bears in the living room walls. Here for the everything grows without a permission, the sunflower rice with the potholes. Each and every time for the program. Maybe this is ecstasy for the as a paradise for them. Maybe the extra trash for this. They're only looking for the name and for the harder to give it a name too. For the gifted that carried it through the loneliness and the antelopes before they started listening to the news and they called it in a hint. How about that knowledge for the able to explode? I want the meantime for the real time for the plus the passive. It was a switching of the skirt, which is more than I can take for the marvel like to be the middle distance from the seat. How many now for the seat to point for the falling off for this and never this under the antenna to the extra long for the this the ecstasy for the plants and the beauty on my tongue. So that if it were the wing for the be flying with the quickness and I could be the hummingbird for the grace of him. Mercy and the light for the darkness and come. Who was safe for the consolation, I will be blamed. All night for the hearing the echoes in the forest and I'm tempted. Save myself for the hindsight where I see for the absence of me for I hear the voice. And I couldn't be more strange enough to go walking for the hand in hand for the bodies in the path and made from the feet for the taking and talking and taking and talking and taking and talking. The I. Metaphysical for the country. Transitory for the affected love. Separate for the different life that sustained them. I am not. You are. Who's that for the popping up and the join? This for the fairy, for the comfort, the baby, the limp, for the hand, for the merry way, for the this could be habit, I can say for the born again, for this to be the kind of feather you can like, for this to be the earthly, for the nonchalant. I am not that for the request, for the kind of seed that I should drop in all self arms, and this the same. Very best, never to be had.
So then I tiptoe.
So then I tiptoe, not knowing where. So then I tiptoe. So then I tiptoe, not knowing where it belonged, but this is how. This be the flower, this be the street. Swallowed itself into the border for the railroad. It was the track, but this was the bus line in. This is where the boys like to cross the curfew. This is where boys slap the windows of the domino into the mansions. Runaway man for the under the jogger for the park forest. Railings, gangsters days, during the spirit week, for this is the grass and the quiet for the mothers asleep, and this is where your heart is not yet. Restless to the telephone for the wire shackled to the ankle. Everyone you have ever loved for the sunset, but this is the new station to telling everyone that you could about to live across the street, for the outside your living room, for the window, for the at the end of the driveway, for the deliberate enough and for the abruptly enough for the stitching, for the here you are an exception. Urban and articulate enough for the black friend. Damn, you can poke them pencils to the kink for the one time. Curl a trembling smile for the pretending not to be the token of voodoo doll. Half elves for the half healed, for the only husk to both for the black family you can find in the north of the brought for the plantation. But this is all too familiar to being someplace where you were never raised is twice as good. For the mama left that west side for the you were two for the racing to the valley girl, for the accent for you lost that for the skyline, for you went to school for the metal detectors, but you couldn't have the division streets. Born before and conceived, for this to be the cousins who lived inside the basement, for the first to real divine, to be first to tongue inside the mouth, for the first we call your country, first to find the splinter for the wall, for the back you will know, for the have no success story, you're lucky enough for to slip through the cracks and make it. Your front door each night for the here is where your ashes will be scattered. Here's the home for the 6 years, but now for the here's for the home for the 50th year for the redemption of the skin. Corner store, dusted porcelain to the stuffed bears in the living room walls. Here for the everything grows without a permission, the sunflower rice with the potholes. Each and every time for the program. Maybe this is ecstasy for the as a paradise for the maybe the extra trash for this is only looking for the new name and for the hardly to give it a name too for the gifted that carried it through the loneliness and the analogy before they started listening to the news and they called it in a hint. How about that knowledge for the able to explode? I want the meantime for the real time for the plus the passive. It was a switching of the skirt, which is more than I can take for the murmur like to be the middle distant from the seat. How many now for the seat, the point for the falling off for this and never this under the antenna to the extra long for the ecstasy for the plants and the beauty on my tongue. So that if it were the wing for the be flying with the quickness and I could be the hummingbird for the grace of him. Mercy and the light for the darkness and come. Who was safe for the consolation, I will be blamed. All night for the hearing the echoes and the forwards and I'm tempted. Save myself for the hindsight where I see for the absence of me for I hear the voice. And I couldn't be more strange enough to go walking for the hand in hand for the bodies in the path and made from the feet for the taking and talking and taking and talking and taking and talking. The I. Metaphysical for the country. Transitory for the effect of love. Separate for the different life that sustained them. I am not. You are. Who's that for the popping up and the join? This for the fairy, for the come, for the baby, for the hand, for the merry way, for the this could be happy, I could say for the born again, for this to be the kind of fellow you can like, for this to be the earthly, but the nonchalant. I am not that for the request, for the kind of seed that I should drop in all self arms, and this is the same. Very best, and never to be had.